Once again, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another installment of Leaders of Tomorrow Online, themed on key learning. I'm Kavishka and I'll be the host for today. And as the host, I have a few announcements for all of the participants. First off, do keep yourselves muted and your video turned off. We're trying to minimize, the hazard that can come with people muting and unmuting all the time. So do make sure that video and audio is turned off. And secondly, since this is a panel discussion, you can ask questions from the panelists, and how you can do this is go to the chat menu, make sure that go to the chat, make sure that your chat is being addressed to everyone. Don't send private message. It makes it easier when you send it to the public chat. Address the message to everyone, and in the chat menu, type your name and the panelist you'd like to ask the question from, and then your question. So again, name, panelist, and question, and send it to the chat. Make sure I address it to everyone, and that's basically how you can ask questions from the panelists. And today's meeting, today's session rather, is being moderated by the founder of Leaders of Tomorrow, Dr. Prabhat Karunanayake. Dr. Karunanayake is a medical doctor by training and a human resource developer by practice. And he holds an MBA in human resource management and an MSc in business psychology. He also has postgraduate qualifications in occupational safety and health and psychology. Dr. Prabhat works passionately towards building the capacity of the youth and young adults through his flagship program, Leaders of Tomorrow, which is what we are here now for. He shares the message of personal leadership and life success. At the same time, he conducts leadership development programs at schools and universities, and up to now, he has reached over 3,000 students with his message. So to moderate this session, I hand it over to Dr. Prabhat Karunanayake. Over to you.
Thank you, Kavishka. Good evening. Welcome to the third in the series of Keep Learning panel discussions, sixth overall, conducted by Leaders of Tomorrow Online. 5 years ago, I founded the Leaders of Tomorrow program to empower the next generation into becoming competent, confident, and compassionate adults. Up to now, we have conducted 13 workshops. I have also conducted numerous programs at schools and universities as well. Now, all these were outdoor activity-based programs. We conducted our last workshop on 21st of February and were planning the next two workshops, one on the 15th of March and the next one on 7th of April. So we all know what happened after that. We could no longer ask you to come to our programs, but instead we decided to come to you. This is the sixth in the series of many online knowledge sharing and skills development sessions. Whether it be a new skill you have always wanted to learn, or an old hobby you have been meaning to pick up back again, now is the perfect time to busy yourself and make your time in self-isolation worthwhile. Even though we have a limited time left, but we still have time. We have lined up experts in 3 different fields to share their knowledge with you. We have Mr. Ganesh Jayatilaka, we have Mr. Prabhat Samarasuriya, and we have Ms. Kanchana Abesingha, who will be introduced when their turn to speak. And I welcome you to sit back and enjoy the next 90 minutes. The topic for today's discussion is keep learning. So what is learning to begin with? Psychologically, learning is defined as a relatively permanent change in behavior as a result of experience. As you can see, learning is fundamentally a behavior change. So this brings us to the importance of skill development, which is associated with behavior change, of course, as a part of the learning process. If you know the main objectives of education, which we goes by the word KSA, which stands for knowledge, skills and attitudes. Skills is a key component of the entire education, the process of education as well. So whether it be to expand your horizons or to boost your employability or simply for pleasure, skill development will play a major role in a child's development. That is why we are so focused on this Keep Learning panel discussion session, where we are introducing new skills for your children to pick up. Now, as opposed to the times when your children were busy with school and other activities and friends and hobbies, they now have a lot of time, free time on their hands. Every parent, including myself, we are struggling with the idea of their child not being able to spend time constructively or productively. You might feel, okay, they are just wasting the time, they're idling. So enrolling them into some online class or some workout or some other thing, you can keep them occupied. However, parents can also take this time to make sure their teens learn new skills which they will not learn at school, but which will be invaluable when they become adults. So parents can use the time to teach their kids and often themselves new skills during this period. So as I mentioned above, we have lined up 3 experts today in 3 different fields of design: graphic design, fashion design, and interior design. Each panelist will give a general account of the subject, which will be followed by some questions. You in the audience, as Kavishka mentioned, are welcome to pose questions to the panelists by using the chat panel. First, type your name, then the panelist to whom you want to direct the question, and finally, the question very briefly. So the first topic for today's discussion is graphic design. To talk about graphic design, we have Mr. Ganesh Jayatilaka joining us. Ganesh holds an MBA and is a doctoral candidate, a chartered marketer, and a member of American Marketing Association. He's a lecturer and trainer in marketing management. He's also a consultant for several NGOs, parliamentarians and parliamentary staff, and Ministry of Skill Development and Vocational Studies. He is the co-founder and the CEO at Cytel, an award-winning web and mobile software solutions provider. He has held the post of Vice President and Secretary for the Council of Management at Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing and Secretary General of the Asia Marketing Federation Sri Lanka Association. Ganesh, over to you to tell us about graphic design.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Good evening, everyone. So just let me share with you my slides. I hope everyone can see me and the slides. Yeah, right. Right. So let me just take you through what graphic design is all about and why I'm talking about this area. You'll get to know as we go on. So graphic design in simple, it's a combine of art and technology to communicate ideas, concepts through many tools. One is images. As I go on, you will get to know what that is. Basically, it's a combine art and technology to communicate ideas. So we cannot limit graphic design to one industry. So, you know, today we have picked 3 areas. Now, as you can see, you know, these are sketches by very average people initially, right? So, so when it comes to fashion, and so a small idea sketched by someone will be a fantastic output in time to come. So even so interior design, right? So you start sketching something and it'll be something very beautiful. And these 2 areas, fashion design and interior designs, will be you know, discussed by 2 experts, Prabhat and Kanchana. So let me just take you through, like, you know, other areas which you can, I mean, which we should concentrate on. Now, So as I told you, like, it's a combine of art and technology, like, through textures and maybe different patterns, right? You can just, think of any pattern. It can be just a, circle, right? A lines, a line, maybe lines and shapes, right? So it can be anything, right? So basically you can communicate these through different ways. Now it all starts with a simple drawing, maybe, right? So as parents, I know, as you can see behind me, right, there are certain, drawings you can see. It all starts with a simple drawing, maybe a very simple one like this, right? This is where we identify certain things, the expertise the kids they have, right? As you can see, small, Now see, if you see this particular, incomplete design, and it is developed as a very different animated figure, right? So I will take you through, some of these things, and there are many competition around the globe, right? So just to see the creativity of kids. So during the age of even, 2 to 15, this is the time that we can identify these things, right? And as you can see, right, this is actually, there was a project called Monster Project. So what is this Monster Project? Is that kids, they draw and send certain monsters, and a certain qualified artists they pick and just complete that particular drawing. So that is how it has ended up with these type of animated figures, as you can see, right? So whenever you see your kid has done something like this, it can be the ugliest, maybe the most awkward, most disturbing drawing, but you should not stop that, because this is where, they start showing their creativity. So now there are many competitions, not only Monster Project, there are many competitions like that. And as you can see, like, there is a story behind most of these characters, right? So even if you see this particular one, like, these are just simple lines, and maybe this is the next Cinderella. So you don't know. So you just draw when you are having some idea. So you just want to just take a piece of paper. A lot of kids, they do this, but unfortunately, we don't really monitor. We don't really see these, right? So, and then of course now you must have seen certain kids, they even take certain cardboards and certain wasted papers and all, and they just draw certain things and they show everyone, this is my phone, right? Or this is my radio, this is my TV, right? Sometimes they come out with something or just draw, right? So, but this is not according to many even child psychologists, like, this is not actually a simple thing. That shows that person's spark. Now, if you take this area, this is a sketch for a web design, right? Even though you don't get it advanced, as a sketch. And this is a mobile app sketch, but there are many tools that you can use for that, which I will discuss further. So now, if you see some of these things, a small, sketch will be a world-class output, a device like Apple iPhone. So now, most kids, they have this ability, but we don't identify these, and they use different colors, very disturbing drawings according to certain parents. But this is the start. Now, if you really look at this, you will see how creative they are and where we can take them. What will be the future of these drawings. So a lot of companies and, associations, even, some group of artists, they have organized many competitions, as I told you earlier, to identify these things around the globe. And then every year they just try to get certain drawings like this, and they sometimes even give awards, even money wise. And of course, in time to come, you will be headhunted by maybe Walt Disney. You don't know, right? So
Yes,
yeah.
And yes, Danesh, now it certainly looks like an interesting, very interesting subject to learn.
Yeah.
Now, for a beginner, what are the tools they need, and what are the tools available to start designing graphic?
Yes, actually now that is my the other area. So if I just take you through, I mean there are very free tools available, right? So if you take to sketch even at home, I mean just certain set of pens or pencils and things like that you can use, and you can draw stuff like this. And there are sketching tools, you call it online sketching tools, so you can use them. And very famous one, Photoshop. It's not very difficult to learn, and also you can download to your desktop or even the laptop. And Illustrator, these are the tools that very famous tools, but there are many other tools, many other, you call it open source tools. You don't need to pay. So there are video, YouTube videos, those tutorials you can take and learn how to do this in a very simple manner.
And certainly what we'll do is we will share some of those good quality tutorials which you can learn from in the later on through our WhatsApp group. Now, yes. Danesh, now if someone is interested in learning graphic design properly, yes. What options do they have to learn the subject seriously?
Yes, now there are online courses as well. And even in Sri Lanka, you have places where they teach. And even for information, where I am attached to at SciTech Private Limited, we also do certain designing courses. Actually, we call them UI UX. Actually, UI means the user interface. As I showed you earlier, it can be a mobile phone, it can be any device. Even the look of the device, even what you have inside as mobile apps, certain applications, the look and feel, right? The user interface, the user experience is something like what you want to communicate to the target audience. Target audience means the set of people that you want to communicate something. Let's say you want to draw something for kids. I mean, it's a video game for kids. So even though you are not a kid, you can understand the kid's psyche. So then through that, you to try to think through the child's mind, right? You just see through the lens of the child, in the other words. So then, of course, you call it user experience. You think like the user. So we teach how to combine these two together. User interface, any interface, right? And user experience. So we also do these type of courses, doctor. And there are many other online courses for kids to learn about these things. And we 16 plus, if you are 16 plus, probably you can come to SciTech. And probably if you are a participant, we can just give you a free course as the first certification. And for others, of course, there is a fee.
Thank you very much for that information. That if anyone who is listening is willing to take up a basic lesson from SciTech, and Danesh is willing to offer that for you free of charge, the first lesson. Thank you very much. And Danesh, for younger kids, say now you said you started 16. What options, say if a 10-year-old wants to get into graphic designing, so it's to learn through YouTube tutorials, is it?
Through YouTube tutorials. Also, during this lockdown period, we realized that there are a lot of parents, I mean, they inquired, and we are planning to have an online session also, probably with the help of this forum. So we can even facilitate something like that as well. I mean, very basic ones, how to do a small design using Photoshop or Illustrator. So we can just even show certain practical sessions through online sessions.
Excellent. So yes. Going forward with joining hands with SciTech, we will think of ways how we can design a small program for you all to get into this subject. Now, if a child learns this graphic design subject properly and master it properly,
Yeah.
where can they end up? I mean, what are the options?
Actually, there are many options. A lot of people, I think, parents sometimes they are not aware. They think this is something like we are doing music or art. So you end up with, I mean, it's a hobby. It's not a profession. That's what a lot of people, that is how they perceive. Actually, there are many jobs, even according to the research done by Forbes. If I'm not wrong, the sixth best paid job is UX designer, according to Forbes. And I have certain stats, the 78,000 US dollars, the annual pay. That means in Sri Lankan rupees, it will be something like 1.3 million per month for a UX designer to earn. And if the fourth place is like product manager, the product manager also should come out with certain concepts, right? It's all, as I told you, it all starts with something very simple, maybe a sketch or maybe a small idea, right? And also the second place, according to Forbes, according to research that they have done, solution architect, right? Solution architect should basically sketch the whole thing. So starting from what clients they want to the deployment. That means you just give the product or the online solution or that particular web solution to the client. There are many opportunities, like, you know, if I namely a web developer, designer, visual designer, UX, UI UX designer, even not only for web and mobile, desktop software, augmented reality designer, that is one of the emerging area, AR designers, chief design creative officer or art directors, game designers, multimedia artists, mobile designer, product packaging designer, and very interesting area, cartoonist, right? So the you know, these as I told you earlier, Walt Disney and even Cartoon Network, they are looking for people who are very creative. I mean, so the cartoonist is a highest paid job, you know, in those countries. So there are many, I mean, career opportunities if you really see for creative designers in the software domain. Yeah.
So which means like it is not only designing these flyers and brochures and cutouts, not only that, right? So the options are endless.
Not really. Actually, what we now right now see, the Zoom, this is a design by someone. How the faces should be, you know, should appear, and all these things designed by a creative designer. So
Right.
the next version will be different. So designer's job, I mean, it's an everlasting job.
Right.
So designer gets involved everywhere, basically.
So thank you, Danesh, for those wonderful inputs, and a reminder, and I'll come back to you with the questions from the floor. So the reminder for our audience is, I know you will have a lot of questions, so please take a minute to type them out on the chat panel. First type your name, then the panelist to whom you want to direct the question, and then the question in very briefly. So our Zoom masters will pick them up and they will give them to me so that I can get the answers from the panelists. Now we'll move on to the second topic of the day, which is fashion design. To talk about fashion design, we have Mr. Prabhat Samarasuri. Prabhat is a design professional who graduated from Northumbria University, UK. He practices his creative journey as a designer, artist, and an academic in design education, and has been mentoring young creative enthusiasts for more than 15 years. With his continuous international exposure, he has been able to build a contemporary design discipline, which is unique to his philosophical backgrounds. He's a multi-talented, award-winning designer who has contributed much to the fashion, textile, jewelry, and fine art industries, both locally and internationally. He was the winner of the Sustainable Designer Award in 2016. Over to you, Prabhat, to educate us on fashion design. Prabhat, you are muted.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. And thank you very much, Dr. Prabhat, for giving me this valuable opportunity to talk the new generation people about some design and art. So I was listening to Mr. Danesh, and I think it was more informative, and he was covering all the basic, the fundamentals that any kind of designers supposed to be covered. Like for an example, design principles or the art skills. So therefore, I think he gave a really good insight of it. So I don't think that I really need to explain that actually. But my demonstration would be targeting to a very new, a fresh kid who really kind of curious about the nature, about art, or about the innovation. So, like, give you a little insight about how would you identify your skills that you could be able to focus for fashion or design in future. So let's see. So since I'm talking about fashion design, so this might be something new for you. I mean, especially like like the Sri Lankan the formal education system. Um, so what is actually a fashion design? Um, the fashion design is an art of applying design aesthetics. So as Danesh said, the design aesthetics would be the color or the textures or the patterns or prints are like the supportive elements to make a beautiful piece of artwork. So therefore I consider fashion is a form of art. So that art actually combining or amalgamating with technology. So what is the technology? Maybe the manufacturing techniques or the stitching techniques or other kind of like, let's say, embroidery techniques or like different types of like modern technology involved to fashion design for nowadays. And also it's enhancing the natural beauty of clothing. So that is actually a major purpose of like involving a designer. The designer does have that artistic spirit, the creativity that the person can inject the natural beauty to a piece of clothing. The clothings, like clothes are existing in the world. So if you see, like I'm wearing a shirt and you might be wearing a dress or a shirt or a t-shirt or a pair of trousers or whatever, that is a garment, a clothes. We call it's a classic piece of garment. So the garments are existing and the fashion are applied. Okay, so therefore that my basic and the first advice is, if you are planning to be a designer in future, you're going to learn about clothing, because the clothing is a functional a piece of garment that you really need to understand. So that is the part of the technology and involving it sort of like social attitude as well. So that is something different and a bit advanced. So don't worry about it in this stage. Just believe in your curiosity. That's my first advice. So if you take fashion, actually, it's always influenced by like cultural and social attitude. So if you see this screen, I mean, designers are inspiring from different types of resources. So that's we call concept. So that's we call a theme. So any type of a designer are inspiring from different types of inspiration. Now, if you see this one, the design has been inspired from tribal like peoples or tribes in Africa. So tribes in Africa, so that is the inspiration, and that look is we call like very original or authentic. So we don't know whether it's fashion or not, but that look is maybe artistic, maybe very expressive, maybe authentic. But the designers are bringing down that spirit into a modern day clothing, because I know that you really don't want to look like a tribe. You really don't want to be look like another punk, but you really want to wear a jacket that inspired from punk. You really need to have a turban with tribal print. So that is the basic secret of a design or fashion design. So therefore designers are looking at this authenticity of like different ideas, and then they are bring down or applying into modern day clothing. Now if you see the next picture, there are two models on a photo shoot like editorial, and they are wearing beautiful clothes that represent a modern day cloth. So therefore, you are looking at different sort of like cultural aspects to design something. So therefore, you have to be very curious about like what are the cultures in the world, what are the kind of like social kind of classes or levels in the world that you could see, and how you're going to bring down those ideas into design. So I'm talking about a bit advanced language, which I'm going to talk about for you people. So then I would like to move to the other idea, the next picture, I think Kanishka will move. Yes. So see this one, it's not about, it's okay. I mean, like I would say it's a cultural, but it's like inspiring from architecture. Now you can see how would like connect this design, architecture, graphics, and fashion. It's one world with different specifications. Now you see the design has been inspired from architecture, the colors and the shapes and the total language and mood has been applied for a beautiful piece of garment. So therefore, for inspiration, that's limitless. You can look at different things and you can get ideas from anything you want and put into design context. So therefore, as a kid, that curiosity is extremely important. Now, for an example, like when I was a kid, I was like so amazed with the nature, the color of the greens and the shape of the flowers or leaves. And still that is inspiring for me to design my creative ideas. So therefore, yes, that your possibilities or kind of like elements are wider. So then again, the fashion does have the varied, like, you know, the varied over time and places, because that is basically, if I explain, the Indian fashions are different, the local or Sri Lankan fashions and the styles are different. If you go to America, it's different. If you go to like American cities like New York or Las Vegas or different kind of rural areas, there are like fashion or attires, like looks would be different. And then again, if you go to Africa, the way they're wearing that garments are different because they are mixing with their originality. If you go to Russia, it's different. So now you can understand, if you are planning to be a designer, you have to have a really good wide ideas, like, you know, of knowledge. So how are you going to improve that knowledge? How are you going to collect that knowledge? So it's interesting. So you are keep on learning. You are keep on getting experiences and exposures. So this is the most important part for designing, the exposure and your attitude, right? And then again, the fashion designers actually attempt to design clothes which are functional. So this is very important. So the design is supposed to have a meaning. You are designing for a purpose. So you are designing to function the garment. So you are designing the clothes that function to, like, you know, the different occasions. But you are not designing evening gown or an evening dress that you could like to wear to your, like, you know, the day-to-day office work. The office work, like office wear, does have a different features, different attitude, the different fabrications, different print compared to your evening dresses. So you are not wearing kind of like, then again, fancy dresses for your religious occasions. So it does have a different requirement and materials. So therefore, design is supposed to have a really good understand about the culture as well. Now, here in the first part of this presentation, I was explaining the ethics and the qualities or the knowledge, what definitely a designer is supposed to, you know, gain. So for a kid, it's easy. So you just look at the television and read the books and try to get an opportunity to travel like around Sri Lanka or to, like, you know, out of the countries and get those inspiration and exposure as much as possible. So this knowledge is very, very important if you are trying to plan to be a design in future, if you are trying to have a formal education in design in future. So this pre-preparation is extremely important, because the designer is living in the society and they are contributing to the society. So you have to understand the society, you have to understand the market, you have to understand the people's attitude and their requirement. So therefore, this knowledge is extremely important to develop it, right? And then let's see, as in like understanding or to enter to fashion as a curious kid, how would you read fashion? Because the fashion is like everywhere, right? The people wearing nice clothes and people wearing different makeups and people, like, you know, showing off and expressing themselves in a different kind of like attitude. So therefore, if you see a look, if you, I mean, yeah, you can look at fashion shows, you can look at like different fashion catalogs, you can look at fashion editorials, and also you can look at different street fashion is one of best things to learn fashion. Like, I mean, Sri Lanka is not, we are not like very straightforward with it like street fashion. But if you are accessing to like, you know, the New York streets, like in New York or in Paris or Milan, like very fashion forward cities. So you can see how people wear. And the designers, like, you know, the duty is understand their look, understand their requirement, and learn about what would be the looks that they really appreciate, and how I'm going to contribute my design aesthetics and my design abilities to create that kind of looks to make a beautiful person. So therefore, I would advise you to understand or start reading fashion, and this is very important for art and the other like areas of art as well. So if you pick up piece of painting, you are just reading through like top to bottom, like you are extracting colors and you are understanding the mood of it, you are understanding the historical influence behind it, you understand the emotional content of it, you understand the materials and medium have been used for it. So it's like that. I would say if you see a fashion now, see like just imagine like, what kind of a look they have, what kind of makeup. Because if you see an Indian, or if you see like a British, if you see American, if you see like the Russian or African, you can see some sort of like originality. So just try to understand it, try to read it. Like her hairstyle is like very neat and very British, or very African, or very Sri Lankan, or very contemporary, modern. And also like think of like how they are meshing colors. The colors are like very similar, very distracting colors, very vibrant colors, like soft colors. Try to analyze it. So these analytical skills are extremely important for a designer. So you are analyzing things and try to understand for yourself, and you are trying to recreate your ideas by using all this information. And also like cultural influences, because say in future, if you are designing a collection or a, like, you know, the design, a brand for like different country, like Western country or wherever, so you have to understand their cultural influences and the trends and like, you know, the different certain information. So therefore try to understand. I know that Indian fashion is very famous. I mean, like easily you can understand because of we are familiar with it. But try to be familiar with other fashion trends and influences as well. And also like what are the clothes? And here I have given classic clothing. That's why I said the clothes are existing. Fashion are like interpreting. So therefore, like fashion comes second, but the clothes is first. If it's a jacket, if it's a shirt, if it's a pant, like what are the specific features and quality of that particular garment? So what are the components? And then how I'm going to fashion it. So that's what I call fashion design. Otherwise, you are not designing something totally weird. You can design a weird clothes for like weird kind of like costume parties or something. But if you are designing clothes for the society to wear, like, you know, to consume like day-to-day basis, there's lots of things that you need to understand. You don't want to be kind of like, you know, clowns in the society. So therefore, there are certain things and disciplines that you need to develop in future. That's why the design becomes a serious and a highest demanding subject. Because design is not designing their dreams. Designers are designing others' dreams and requirements and the market as well. So therefore, the designer become a very specific key person or a key role in the society or in the market world. Okay, so that is that. Now I hope you can understand like how would you read fashion if you see a fashion shows or like different catalogs and stuff. Then I'm moving to my next part. This is very important. I mean, the modern day world is like more wider than before. Like, you know, the like in our period, like you got different opportunities to find your career. The people are more liberal to be exposed to themselves and to understand their skills and to challenge themselves and find their way. They rather been stick into like stereotype the profession in the world, right? So the designers are the job creators. They are not job hunters. So you create your own identity and you're ready to sell it. So selling your identity, selling your signature is a one of, it becomes like, you know, the one of the, I mean, like, you know, the biggest impact in the business world, like, you know, the modern days. People sell their signature. People sell their kind of like, you know, the innovations. They sell their identity, the ideas. So how would you identify your creative identity or the skills as a kid? Are you interested? Interested in the sense like you are not interested to like, you know, it doesn't mean that you are interested only for art. Like you are a curious kid. you love the nature and you kind of like obsessed with the green of the nature. You are concerning about the birds and like, you know, the noise and the sounds. And also you are interested in culture. Are you really interested to learn about like African cultures, African tribes or Russian tribes, or what is happening in New York, or what is happening in British, like what would be the looks like, you know, the old buildings of the city of London? Are you interested of colors because you really admire colors? Your life is like full of colors, and the clothes that you wear, the paintings you do. So have you used colors? And also you have like personal kind of reference, like, you know, the preferences. Are you are in styles? If you wear a dress, are you like too concerned about, is it matching, right? Do you like these flowers? Okay, I don't like this, you know, the flowers are too big. And you got some sort of like attitude in you, maybe a really a good kind of identification that you got a little kind of like, you know, the really good senses of fashion, right? And also not only that, like you are interested in music like pop stars and kind of all vintage musics and performances, dance, like different types of like cultural. Are you interested of like, you know, the Candian Perahera to like, you know, the top kind of like world pop, like, you know, the musical shows and pop stars and like performance like dancers? And also like more than that, are you ready to do like creative experiment when you spend in your time at home? Are you like, you know, the taking your pencil box or pen boxes, or you going to your garden and try some experiment and try to create like, you know, the different flower bouquets or vases, or try to draw something and try to fold the paper and to create maybe a paper sheep or something? We really don't know. Maybe you're trying to fold a paper just to be looks like a bench or a chair, whatever. It's fine. So it's like it's concerned about the creative experiment. So are you ready to do that? So how you spend your free time? Rather like, you know, this all the time like playing. It's playing game is one thing. I'm not saying it's like, but it is a part of it. But at the same time, like, are you spending your time wisely at home? So are you trying to like, you know, do some creative experiment? It may be like you're trying to bake a cake. It's your experiment. It shows your curiosity, right? You are trying to create something, a part of your creativity. And also like you things like see things differently. Could you see or could you imagine a pink mango? Could you imagine a cat in red and blue? Is are you trying to create your own fantasies? Are you trying to create your own characters as you want to see? So might be you are kind of like enthusiastic to create your fantasy. It's one of best thing, right? So the last, so you love to live in a dream. Oh my God, like, you know, like in like when I was 20s, I just want to like fly all over the world. I just want to go and see what is like Shanghai city, and, you know, like try to experience the great wall, like, you know, the like, you know, the naked eyes. And I want to go to look and see all the great masterpiece artwork in future. And I just want to have like, you know, this beautiful clothes, and I want to be an artist like that, and I want to be a person like that. I just want to change the world in this way. I really want to see like people wearing nice dresses and they have a really good kind of quality of lifestyle. So you are a dreamer. You try to create dreams and you try to fulfill it. And then at the same time, you are kind of like creating your market. You're creating your own career. So then think of, you are a creative soul. Yes. So good.
So, Prabhat, can I pause you there?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Now, I think you gave a nice explanation of how to identify that creative spark in you. So, if anyone in the audience
Yes.
thinks that okay, you have these qualities and you think you are creative, so this is an area you can get into. So, let me
Yes.
pose a question to you, Prabhat. Now, if someone is interested in designing, fashion designing, how can they
Yes.
start? I mean, what sort of things can they do to start
Yes.
off the interest at home?
Okay. Now, interesting question. Now, early actually, you know, like the education system has been like changing, like, you know, the change like rapidly. Now, if someone is interested in fashion, is the major key. So you have to have that interest. Do you have to have that? I mean, like, I'm not very concerned about the skills. Like, skill could be varied. If you are a weirdly kind of like, if you could create sort of like weirdly beautiful drawings, or maybe weird drawings, I don't mind. Like, people say like, okay, we don't like it, but you might be like it. So understand that is your signature. But at the same time, you need to improve your passion. You need to improve your curiosity. You need to keep practicing it. So one day you can use the developed signature that you could be able to apply to a formal education. So therefore, until you find your pathway to a formal education, so my advice is just be creative. Just be like, the concern about like, a different kind of like interesting ideas. Now see the first drawing what I'm showing you, it's just a scribble of like, like plenty of paint, like brush strokes. This might be the artist release the stress. The artist might be like, the releasing the tension, or I really don't know what to do and I'm lost, but oh, I go mad with paint, and like I don't want to create a face or something. I just been very aggressive with like brush strokes and pencil strokes, and create something like, I don't know. But see, I would see like really good interesting design element in it. So don't you think that this is a really good print idea for a dress? Don't you think the colors are so beautiful? Don't you think it does have a really like very strong a movement in brush strokes? Of course. So this might be the starting point. So therefore, if you are interested in design, keep on like, like working on it. Just learn about what is fashion. Just try to create different. This is also like, the kids drawing. And I know I didn't think like the proportion is wrong and, for a professional, but of course, but still you can try. And you can just, that's why I said like, this is your dreams. Like you are creating your fantasy clothes. And this is the end result. So once you improve your professional or like formal education in fashion and design, like that's the formal way to learn how to achieve like, the actual visual language of fashion. So now this illustration involves a lot, like the attitude, the proportion of the garment. It shows like what kind of materials, and it shows like what kind of accessories being used for the look, and what kind of trends been followed. So you could see loads of information within this garment, that, within this look, that called the visual expression or the visual representation before you manufacture this garment. So it saves your times and money, because this is the idea where you're selling to your customer. Otherwise, you are not supposed to make the garment and sell it, but nobody, like if somebody don't want to buy that, there will be a big failure and loss. So therefore, first of all, your visual language has to be sold. So this is your illustration, and that you can sell like once you become a professional. And this is actually something like very sweet and nice things that you can do. Like if you're especially a girl, I mean, I know that you do have like lots of like dolls and little dummies at home, like they're fancy with like different ribbons and papers and things. Like even boys, if you can have like, the papers and pens, yes. So try to create like this kind of little mini ideas. So even if you go for a professional fashion design course, this would be your first year. So you are creating your own ideas by using different kind of objects. Like you are like, the dressing up a Barbie doll, like looks like an African, or you are giving her another Indian look, or you are giving another kind of modern contemporary look. So therefore, these are kind of like fun activities that you can be involved during your lockdown situation. And also, yes, so you do have lots of like, the garments, of course, in your wardrobe, and try to compose or try to give a like really nice looks. Just imagine, I need to go for an outing. So just after like, releasing the uplifting the lockdown situation, I'm going to go to a like supermarket. But what can I like, how can I wear something to give a different look? I want to be a new person. I just want to have a like, the fresh looks to go to a market even. I don't mind, but I need to have this kind of pair of shoes, and then like I'm going to wear this like the little dress, and I'm going to wear a scarf. So you are styling for yourself. You are kind of like, like composing your garment nicely. And also, of course, like this is a nice activity. I know that many people do have a, like, the birthday parties at home, or maybe costume parties. Like try to be creative. So that's why I told you the designers are not supposed to be like very stereotype people. They're not afraid of the world. So the costume party is one of like, fun part of a kids. Like, just imagine you have a birthday party. I'm gonna wear something like the kind of fun clothes, or I'm gonna create my own clothes. Or you can have a party like, the theme party. Okay, my birthday party is like more about costumes. Yeah. And also, like most importantly, the computer will help you to do lots of things in this situation. Now, even for me, like for us, we could be able to connect to the world because of the computer. So as Danesh said before, just see like what kind of like creative softwares that you can use. Like just ask your parents that, mom or dad, or could you download or install like Photoshop for me, or Paint for me, or Illustrator. And also you can do like different research on the net, like say like what is kind of like evening fashion, what is high-end fashion. So I can give you more information as per your requirement in future. And lots of internet research you can do, like lots of information. And also if you need to find the proper structure of like fashion designing and that design content, you can find those syllabuses actually. And you can find more kind of supportive information or YouTube tutorials or kind of like online paid tutorials. So you can, yeah, like you can be involved with lots of activities. I think yes, like if you are involved in that, your home, like the lockdown situation won't be boring for you. So you are using it wisely. Yeah.
So yeah, so which means starting from sketching something to dressing up your dolls and doing this costumes. So there are a lot of things that kids can do. So
Exactly.
yeah, one question, interesting question is now. So what would be the big picture for someone who is into this? So what will the future hold for someone who is interested in getting into this industry?
Yes, and like the design industry become the one of like most prominent industry in the modern day world. I mean, like Danesh mentioned about it. Like how about the product involved, all the design aspects, and then again the interior. People are very concerned about the interior environment, like the ambience of their like the living status. So same as that fashion actually. Like fashion is one of the biggest industry in the world and the biggest kind of like demand in the world. So it's like rapidly change in that fashion world. Now it's like we are in an era of like the sustainable fashion innovation. Like lots of designers are kind of involving with sustainable fashion innovation, and also like they get big demand even like the all over the world. And this is actually the glam part of fashion. That means like you get a like the fame and the prestige on the runway when you see your garments on the runway on a well reputed the catwalk shows. So just you made it. And also you get a chance to travel around the world, like when you're working for a brand. Okay, like the next destination is China, Shanghai, or Paris, or Rio de Janeiro. So wherever for inspiration and to hunt materials and all. And also most importantly, yes, you are dealing with some like grassroots level to the highest the professional levels in the world. Like you are dealing with buyers, and you are dealing with like different types of like client range. You are dealing with different types of like professionals, like industry professionals, like photographers, choreographers, the merchandisers, or the the brand promoters, and like the advertising agencies. And finally, I put this picture, actually a big picture, the one of the leading pioneer of the world is Giorgio Armani. So he wasn't a designer actually by himself. He was like interested to decorate like the windows and stuff, but like by profession he was in the military. But later on he became a pioneer of like design in the world. So he changed the whole design world like within few seconds, but within like last few decades he is actually made a really a big impact of the world. This is just a one example, but there are many. But at the same time, the fashion designer, like since you follow a fashion design, there are different types of kind of like sub professions that you can be very specialized. So you can be a textile design if you're really good in prints. You can be a fashion photographer if you have a really good idea of like the fashion like photography. You can be the branding designer if you're really good at like fashion graphics. You can be a really good visual merchandiser if you know how to curate things. If you can be like, the fashion editor. If you are like graphic designs are really good to put into like fashion, like, the fashion magazines a lot in nowadays. So you can be a fashion consultant to a brand, to like, a different organization. So you can be a buyer, like, who buy fashion and retail. And you can be a curator for like different like fashion stores. You can be an accessory designer if you're really good in accessories, like shoes and bags and scarves and different things. Or you can be a lifestyle designer as well. So you can create like certain concept stores that involving clothes and fashion and interior, like ornaments, decors, and different things. And you can be an entrepreneur at the end, because if you're really good at entrepreneurships at the end, like, when you become a professional, so you have your own brand, so you have your own company, consult for different brands to develop branding or design clothes or design print or design textile maybe. So that your opportunities are unlimited, and you are
Right.
not into like 8 hours work.
Yes, I mean, it definitely will not be a 9 to 5 job. So,
Exactly.
and as you said, the options are endless, and there are some questions coming up. I will post those questions to you at the final session. So, thank you, Prabhat, for that wonderful session. Then now we'll move on to the final topic of the day, which is about interior design. So, to talk to you about interior design, we have with us Ms. Kanchana Abesinghe. Kanchana holds a BSc in Built Environment and an MSc in Architecture from the University of Moratuwa. She is an associate member of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects. She currently is serving as a visiting lecturer at the Faculty of Integrated Design, University of Moratuwa, and City School of Architecture. With over 10 years experience in the industry, she is the principal architect and managing director of KHA Architects, which is an architectural and an interior design consultancy based in Colombo. Something very interesting, she's a former 5 times national champion and a medalist at South Asian Federation Games, in which sport? In karate. Kanchana, welcome to the discussion. Let's talk about interior design.
Okay. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I hope you didn't scare the participants. And thank you to all these youngsters. I think this suppressed by their initiative to learn something during this COVID period. That's a very worthwhile investment of their time. So congratulations and well done, you guys. So let's learn some interior design. Let me just share the screen. Right. Can everybody see the screen? Can you guys see the screen? Hello.
We can see.
Okay, right. Okay, fine. Right. So then the first question that I would like to ask you is, the obvious question is, what is interior design? So the definition, the formal definition given by interior designers is, interior design is all about how we experience spaces. It's a powerful, essential part of our daily lives and affects how we live, work, play, and even heal. Comfortable homes, functional workplaces, beautiful public spaces. That's interior design at work. Right, so that's the formal definition. Let's keep that aside and let's try to make it a little simple. Okay, now, if I ask you, what is an interior? Interior is where you spend most of your time. The interior could change. You could be at home, you could be at school, your parents could be at office. If you're sick, you are taken to the hospital. You'll be moving from one interior to the other, but you'll always be in an interior. So if you're spending about 80 to 90% of your time in an interior, imagine the impact that an interior has on your well-being in terms of your physical well-being, your mental well-being, and also psychological. So this is why we need to put some effort in designing the perfect interior, perfect, or at least let's say a great interior. And so when you're designing, let's look at how you design an interior. So now if I ask you, how would you design an interior? Some might say, okay, I'll go to the shop, I'll buy the best sofa, I'll buy the best carpet or the curtains, or even the best lampshades, and I'll bring them all up and put them in different places in the room, and then we have an interior. But that's not how you do it. Interior is a little bit deeper, in fact very deeper than that. So as Prabhat was talking, he was talking about the concepts and the languages and all of it. So all these arts, architecture, interior, music, sculpture, whatever, I think they go in the same line. So even for this, there are at least, okay, I'm just going to talk about aesthetics and functionality, but there are so many other factors that you need to consider when you're designing an interior. So at least these two has to be given prominence, the aesthetics or functionality. Now, just look at this picture on your right-hand side, a messy room. Now imagine living in a place like this during the lockdown. You'd go insane, right? So it's not about making it tidier or not, but if you're in a bad interior, it's going to really affect your mental health, physical health as well, and also psychological health. So then, right, so let's talk about the styles. Now, if I ask you, okay, let's imagine a scenario where you and your friends, you get together and go to a hotel or a restaurant or cafe, and then suddenly a friend can say, oh my God, this is the best interior that I have ever seen. I need to do the same thing at my house, at my place. And then you'll be like, what is he talking about? This is not really a great interior. And it could happen the other way around as well. You go to another place and then you are like suddenly completely amazed by what you see, and all the others might think that you're crazy. So this is very natural again for arts, because art is something very subjective. You don't have like, how do I say? Okay, there is no general statement where everybody would like, and another another statement where everybody will hate. There is nothing like that. You will definitely have your likes and dislikes. So this is common to all arts. So interior design, it's the same. So this is why we have these different styles, and I've actually put these examples for you to see. This one over here is a contemporary, what is in style right now. And this is something traditional. I've taken something, an interior done in Sri Lanka, but it could be, something classical, Victorian, or Renaissance, all of that. And then there are minimalist interiors, and then there are boho. So other than this, there are so many other varieties of styles, like the rustic style, the industrial, the coastal, Hollywood glam. So there are various types. So what you have to do is, when you go to some places, when you are traveling and you're moving about, see what really vibes with you. Like, some interiors, when you're there, you can actually feel that this is the place. This is actually, I feel really relaxed here. I'm calm, and I feel energetic, or I'm really happy in this interior. So that's your style. That's what you like. So like, even if you go through Google Images or even like magazines, you will see that some interiors will actually speak to you than others. So that's actually your style. So you'll have to make a mental note of it to say that that is your interior style. So now, it's actually it's like this. Now, for example, you have your group of friends, right? You are friends with them because you like them, and you guys gel together well, and you have similar interests, so something like that. So when you are designing a certain interior, because interior is an extension of yourself, like architecture, the interiors, you have to be comfortable in your house. Like, if you're not comfortable, that means you have not selected the right style for you. once you know that you are really comfortable, and that has to be the case, right? Because you're coming home to relax and, you know, have a good time and just, you know, not pretend or not, you know, be anybody else but yourself. So this is why you need to really understand what your style is and be comfortable in it. So now I think Prabhat was talking about a language in design. Language is something like this. Now I'm talking to you in English, and if I suddenly stop this and then I start to talk in Chinese, and then I again deroute to French and then to Arabic, and I go all over the place with different languages, then most of what I say, you will not understand what I say at all, right? So the design is something similar. So you have like a language consists of you know, vocabulary, grammar, syntax, all of that. So like that, there are elements of design and principles of design which we like use to you know, emphasize a certain style. So there are 7 elements of design, which are line, form, texture, color, space, pattern, and light. So let me just take you through some of them. This is, if you can see this here, these lines are emphasized. So when you enter into one of these interiors, you'll suddenly feel these lines. Like for example, here, the vertical lines are emphasized here. So it actually makes the space much taller. So it's emphasizing the height. Here with the horizontal, it's emphasizing the width. And these are like the curvilinear shapes. That means curvilinear shapes are like softer shapes and all of that. And then we have the diagonals, and then we have the form, and also the patterns. And then we come to color. Color is one of the most easy to do things at home. So basically what you can do is you can take a nature picture and then see what the prominent colors are. This color palette has been used for these 2 different interiors. So it actually depends on your creativity. So this is another example of the same color scheme being used in 2 different interiors. And then you have the pattern, the textures. And then of course lighting. I cannot stress enough about the usage of light in interior. It has a huge impact on any interior. And then we have the principles of design, which are proportion, scale, balance, emphasis, rhythm, and harmony. So in terms of proportions, the difference between proportions and scale is, now if I take my face for an example, is my face big or small? You can't say without having another face next to me, right? If the other face is bigger than me, then my face in contrast is smaller. So likewise, scale is when this particular element is measured against the elements which surrounds it. But proportion is actually the proportion of each segment of that particular item. So this is actually it determines the beauty of a certain element. And then balance, we have different ways of balancing it, like the symmetrical, the isometric, the radial balance. So these are all in an interior which actually enhances that interior. And then we have the emphasis. Now here you can see the focal point of this interior is this picture. So that is the emphasis. And the rhythm here, if you can see, all these rafters are in a particular pattern. That is the rhythm, but in rhythm what we're talking about is the unity and the complexity. So if you have too much unity in a certain interior, that means it becomes a little boring. And so you have to have a little bit of complexity in it to make it interesting. But if it's too much complexity, then it becomes chaotic. And then finally, harmony is when you actually have all the elements in interior speaking the same language. If they all belong to the same family, then you will say, okay, this interior has harmony. So these are the principles and elements of design. Hope I made sense. Over to you, Prabhat.
Yes, you did. And actually, it was a beautiful explanation of what this subject is all about. And out of those 4 the styles, what you said, I think I'm a minimalist. I think at home, see, I don't have too many things. And when my wife is complaining, you don't have enough chairs if you have a party to sit even. So I like to have these open spaces. Be realistic, yeah. So taking it forward, now you explained the elements and the principles of interior. So can we see how a design project is implemented?
Okay.
Now, a kid can do.
I actually can take, I think all of us, we all have our own bedrooms, right? So what I can do is maybe I will take you through how to design or maybe redesign your bedroom. So let me just give you this example here. Now I'm trying to teach you how to read a certain plan. Now we architects, interior designers, we work with something called the plan, that is a top view. So here it's this is a normal, I'm sure you can understand what this is about. You have 2 bedrooms and a sitting and a dining. So if you make it, if you, look at it from the top, from the straight down from top, you will have a image like this. So here also the same, the bedrooms and the sitting, dining, all of this is here. But we work with something like this. So this is called a final plan. So to get to that, what we do is we do several options, and then we look at the positives and the negatives of each of these plans and incorporate all the good qualities in terms of placement of furniture, the circulation, the elements, the openings, all of that is considered in designing a perfect room. So these are we can actually do several options and see the best option, and we can then take it forward. So now there are several things. Now this is actually your room. So we are looking at it from the top. So this is called the plan view. So what you have to do is you have to now this is a scale drawing. Scale is like for example, this has been done to 1:100. That means 1 centimeter of this drawing is equivalent to 100 centimeters in the physical setting. So you scale it down. You have a bigger room, but the exact thing has been scaled down to this proportion. So and then here what they have done is they have nicely zoned it. So there are different zones. So this will be your dressing area. This will be the sleeping, and then we have the entertainment, and then finally we have the study area. So you can see what they have nicely done. So the importance of zoning is that if you have the dressing room over here, this is the window. So if you have the dressing next to the window, that's not going to be a very comfortable arrangement, isn't it? But then if you, since you are having the study area next to the window, that's actually going to save you a lot of daytime usage of artificial light. So you don't have to use that. So this is what I was talking about when designing something. You're not only just placing furniture, but you're also looking at the energy consumption, the other factors like the best placement, the orientation. All of these factors are taken into consideration. Also, very importantly, the circulation. Now, for example, if you had the bed, we'll have a look at it in the next diagram. If you had obstructions here when you enter the room, this is not going to be a successful design. So let's see how the bed can be placed and how bed shouldn't be placed. So these are some of the ways in which you shouldn't place a bed. If I take you through one by one, here what happens is okay. Let's take this one. So as I said earlier, there is an obstruction as you enter the room. So this is why this is not a very good placement. And here you enter the room and there is a lot of free space here. That means because you can't place any cupboards over here because you don't have enough room. If you have a cupboard, see now here, when you have the cupboard here, you can still open it and there is enough space to do whatever you want. But here, if you have cupboards in these two, then you will not have enough space to operate them. And then the only available wall space is this much because you can't use the center of the room. And so there is a lot of wasted space in here. And also this is against the window. So it's blocking the window. So basically don't use any of these. And then here, this is the perfect arrangement because now this is in the center and it's not obstructing the door or the window or the circulation space, and there is ample room for you to have your wardrobes and your writing table and all of that. And also the size of the bed is very important. If you're having a room for yourself, you can probably have a single bed. But if you're sharing it with a brother or a sister, then you can have two separate beds, single beds. So your parents may be a king or a queen, but also again, depending on the size of the room, it will depend whether it's going to be a king or a queen. Right. And then we have, so these are some placement of the wardrobes. You can either have an entire free wall covered with a wardrobe, or else you can also combine it with the entertainment center, like for example, the TV and all the other cupboards, and also combine it with the window. So you can actually make it into a bay window and use it for reading and stuff like that. And then you have the writing tables. It can be part of the room, or it can be in a corner with a lot of privacy. Or if it's a very small room, then you can make it a bunk bed, raise the bed, and have the reading area underneath it. So and then finally we have these the soft furnishing, like the rugs, the lampshades, the curtains, and also the wall pictures. So here I've given an example of the wall pictures, how you can select all these. So you can see, you can do the drawing and see which one actually works well with this setting. And basically it's this one that has gone into this picture. So that's how you basically, I hope I gave you a clear idea about how to design it. But you can also do your research on online and maybe on Google and get a better idea of how to design a bedroom. Over to you.
I think yes, that gave I think the audience an overview of how to do this basic design project on your bedroom. Fine. Now, I think earlier also you mentioned a few things like you can buy these lampshades and these paintings and this and that. So maybe the beautifying the home can be expensive, isn't it? So as a child who's learning the art, parents might think twice spending a lot of money. So is there a solution for that?
Good question, Prabhat, actually. Yeah, people think interior design is a little costly affair, but not really, I would say, because now, especially for the kids who are like at home these days, we actually have something called upcycling. I'm sure they have heard about the upcycling because it's really trending these days. So it's about the things that you throw out, using the things that you throw out, but it doesn't have to be garbage. Like, it can be an item which has outgrown their usefulness. Like for example, a clock which is broken and you can't use it. Without throwing it away, if you can be creative and probably repurpose it, it cannot be a clock because it's already broken, but can it be like a side table or a little table where you can keep a little pot or something like that. So these are some of the examples that I can give you. This is not about spending money. There is all these items, if you really look at it, all of these are very, these are the things that you throw away. So it's all about your creativity, how you are able to, create something which has not been created before. So these are, if you see, these are jam bottles. And then these are like, the frizzy soda cans. Out of that, they have made a mirror. So these are just sardine tins. That's it. And see wine bottles, series of wine bottles, and they have made lampshades, candle stands. And then this is a tire made into a dummy, an ottoman. And then this is half of a barrel made into a coffee table. And then this is a cot. So these are clocks made out of the things that you throw out. And there are actually, the possibilities are limitless. You can, if you have the creativity and enough time in your hand, which I think you have right now, enough time is there. So you try to use this opportunity to create something. Even if you go wrong, it doesn't really matter, right? Because you are using this for your home. So you can actually do a lot of things. See, these are all plastic bottles. They have created a partition, which is very functional because it's not blocking the light, and it's providing a translucent partition for this private space. And this again are the bottoms of plastic bottles. It's the same. And these are doors, like, doors which have been thrown out. They have made this into a shelf, a table, and things like that. So possibilities are limitless if you have the creativity. Over to you.
Yes, Kanchana. So basically the idea is to have an open mind, creative mind, and you can do wonders. So thank you, Kanchana, for sharing your thoughts. And I'll quickly get on to a few questions which you have shared. First, there are a couple of questions for Danesh. I hope you are here. Yeah. The first one is, Danesh, is about, is there any free softwares for beginners to work on graphic design? Free software?
Yes, actually, there are many. I mean, not famous ones. There are many open source softwares that if you can just do your research on Google, there are many. But what we recommend is that, even Photoshop and all, it's a matter of downloading that. I mean, if you start with something recommended, it's easy as you go on. I mean, when you are familiar with something which is recommended, then it's easier.
Because I suppose if you go for this the open source, the interface might be different. So when you get into a proper one, you might find it difficult.
That's right. That's what I meant by
Then is there any best desktop or equipment in terms of a PC that you recommend for graphic design?
Yeah, actually, now if you are a beginner, I would say start with what you have. As I told earlier, maybe a piece of paper and a pencil would do. I mean, if you just sketch, if you have this ability, I mean, probably you can use your laptop or the desktop, and probably you can just come out with your own blog. So there are free. I mean, there are ways that you can have your own website without spending a lot. So you can have a website where you can showcase these things, right? So then, you can start like that. I mean, there are many laptops. I mean, when it comes to advanced graphic designing, even iMac, and there are desktops like, 27 inches, and you just keep 2 screens and there are many ways that you can do. But I would suggest start with small, and then you can just, grow as you go on. Yeah.
So which means just after this, don't go and bother your parents to buy a laptop and this and that. You start with what you have, do the sketching with the computer you have. Then once you get the skill, you can move forward. Thank you, Danesh. Thank you, Danesh. Then I have a question for Prabhat. I hope you are with us, Prabhat. Okay, yes,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. The question, Prabhat, is from Chamari. Can you recommend a place to study fashion design? And I know you are a lecturer, so from that background, I think you can recommend that, Prabhat.
Okay. Now I will give you like 3 different options actually, because I can't like promote like specific place. So the first option is like if you can complete your higher education. Now there are sort of like really good programs are happening in like the different state universities in Sri Lanka. Like for an example, the Morita University. The program is good, and the architecture faculty and as well the engineering faculty offers the same quality of a degree. And also the Open University offer a degree. So other than that, there are certain sort of like private institutions. Like for me, like for example, like the place I work for AOD, one of most like the pioneering design education institute in Sri Lanka. So like we offer like the bachelor degree to master programs in fashion design. So if you could be able to complete your O-level or A-level would be, I prefer like after A-level, because your maturity, your knowledge will be gained actually. That is a second option. And as well, if you are sort of a like self-enthusiastic person to start fashion design as a hobby or as an entrepreneurship, so I would advise for you to follow. Even there are different types of online courses. Like I'm not sure about locally, but internationally you can access to or register to like online courses, and also there are different like free programs you can just refer. So until you've been familiar with it, like my first advice is just gather information.
Yes.
So just check what are the online courses that you can like offer, or is there like free the free what do you call like programs that is like widely available, and you can do some research on fashion design and the relevant subjects, and also some self studies.
Yes.
So,
Right. So,
yeah.
Which means, so you mentioned three options: the state universities, private institutes, and self-learning. And certainly for the participants, we will list down. We will do some research ourselves, and we will list down to make it easier for you. We will do the research ourselves and list down the best options for you. Kanchana,
Yes.
we have two questions. This from Nelia. What if someone likes to change their environment from time to time? Frequently change the surrounding. Any suggestions about how we can design the interior so that it can be changed?
Okay, interiors, I think one of the requirements is that it changes. I think it's not like a structural design where it's going to be very costly to change it. But I think interiors, I think it's a matter of changing the furniture. So I think what she's asking is to do it in a low cost way. So in that sense, I think you can do the color. The color scheme is one of the easiest thing to change. So you can keep the same furniture and probably do an upholstering of the sofas and change lampshades and maybe the lighting. So these are like little things that you can do so that you can, achieve a different style altogether. Yeah,
so maybe like in terms of placing the items in the room, maybe if you can, I mean, to make it more flexible.
Yeah. So yes, if you can remember I showed you several different options when we started sketching, and there what you can do is there are basic things that you have to look into: the functionality, the circulation, the openings, the placement. All of that you can't change, right? The openings are going to be there all the time, and also if the circulation is not getting obstructed, then as long as that is there, the circulation parts are there, you can place your furniture any way you like. But it has to also make sense. Remember the principles of design that I explained. So based on depending on the principles, you can how do I say, it has to be within those principles of design. So you can do whatever if you're there.
So that is, as you said, the functional. I mean, you won't go and put the table just in front of the door. No. So likewise, exactly. It has to be the functional.
Yeah.
So there's another question: is there a place to learn interior design for a low cost? Because the concept is that learning interior design is costly. So he's asking for a low cost. Is there option?
Okay. Interior designers earn a lot too, so it really isn't. When you are not going to lose by spending a lot to learn as well. But I'm not sure about the cost, but there are several design institutes locally and also foreign institute as well. In even online.
The basic concept is that is a high earning profession. Therefore, you have to invest also something higher to get into that, right?
Yes, but unless you do a self-study and learn from online and all
right.
This,
and there's another question. I think this can be for all of you. This is for Kanchana, but I think applicable for all. Ms. Kanchana, thank you for sharing the valuable information. Do you conduct classes? I think applicable to all three of you. I think we solved the issue with Danesh, so we will work out something to do this. And Kanchana and Prabhat, at the moment you don't have
no, we can do a very basic thing, but I think it's always better to go and get yourself enrolled in a certain institute so that you get a proper education.
Yes.
Yeah.
Prabhat, you have to say something.
You're on mute.
You have to unmute,
You're,
Prabhat.
you're on mute, Prabhat.
Prabhat, you are on mute.
Okay, can you hear me
Yeah.
now?
Yes, yes, yes.
No, I mean, so the same as like, you know, what Kanchana said, but if someone wants to have more sort of like proper guidance to enter to the field, or if someone wants to have like more kind of specific information, so you are mostly welcome to receive those information by me. So I'm so happy to share with you all.
Right.
But formal education is, I mean, like tremendously important.
Right. So I think now we have covered the first round. We have completed the first round. Now we are almost coming to the end of the session. Now I'll give you all the three panelists, maybe 2 minutes each. Is again a question. What is your message for the kids from your perspective of your own area in maybe 2 minutes? What's your final message? We'll start with Danesh.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Prabhat, and also for all the participants. And if I just share the message with the kids who participated today, even the parents, I mean, see, everything starts with a small drawing. So, you know, even if it is the ugliest or the most awkward or most disturbing, drawing, don't stop, don't criticize. Just look at it and try to understand why the kid has come out with something like this, because that is the start. If you stop that, you kill the creativity. So you have to look at it in a different way. So that is the first thing I need to share with you all. The second thing is that at each and every age of your kid, so you can take the photographs and keep all these drawings, right? And also, as I told you, there are many ways you can showcase this online. Probably in time to come, your kid will be headhunted by Walt Disney, you never know. So then this is, you know, these are the archives where you can keep all these, the creatives that you have been doing, you know, over a period of time, because kids, sometimes they don't know how to, I mean, showcase these, right? But the technology is there, you can do that. And the other thing is that there are many tools to learn graphic designing. And before that, start with what you have, take a piece of paper and a pencil and do it at home. And then, you know, then it won't be a, you know, big burden to your parents. And then you start with something like that. So so start with the resources you have, grow big. And so if there is anything, SciTech is always there. And I hope, you know, we can share our contact details. And then, of course, we conduct certain sessions, so you can participate. See, if you mention you are a participant here, probably the first session will be free. So those are the messages I can share with.
Thank you very much. I think the most important thing from that is don't kill the creativity of your child.
That's right.
Whatever
Precisely.
things they come up with, that is their creativity. And if you look at this, some experts in the field of creativity, what they say is the school system is going to kill the creativity of a child, because you are going to put them into a frame. So let your child express your creativity, and who knows, one day you will be a graphic designer at Walt Disney. Right. Thank you, Danesh. Then Prabhat, in 2 minutes, your final message in terms of fashion.
Yes, Dr. Prabhat, I think I'm totally agree with what the idea shared by Danesh. Yes, I mean, the freedom to your kid and understand your kid and make him confident, like him or her, make them confident. Because now the modern day has been changed like rapidly, and you know the most stereotyped job profession has been like, you know, like destroyed by or dominated by the design industry, because everything is about innovation now. You could see even this COVID situation, the innovation actually became or played a big role in the industry, because they innovated different masks, or they invented different kind of like safety clothes or equipment and all. It's all the part of the creativity. So if they are not here on the earth, so what would be the situation? So therefore, the creativity does have a really a big an authority and a power in a modern day or the future world as well. So that as a parent, so you definitely need to understand. So that is the biggest opportunity for your kids. Rather make them into a particular mold. So therefore, let them to express their ideas. So whatever they do, like let them to create and try to appreciate it. So they are building their confidence is a major key. So I'm not talking about to make them a designer or a fashion designer in future, but the basic initial stage that the parents are supposed to take is make them confident. But then again, according to the Sri Lankan education system, I don't think that it's a bit formatted. I know that art education in Sri Lanka, like, the education system is so restricted. So my personal experience is once they're starting to learn about formal design education, it's very difficult for them to get rid of that, the traditional mentality. So therefore, understand that situation, but your home could give a proper environment to make their creative ideas compared to the school. And it doesn't cost, and there's no kind of like initial capitals for it. Let them to be themselves and understand who is your kids and develop them. That's it.
Right. Thank you, Prabhat. And I think that's a very good point you made, because in this stereotypical world, no one would want to put them. Now, I know for a fact my wife wanted to do dancing for A-levels, and her parents didn't allow her to do it. Pushed her to do commerce. So I mean, so we have to get away from this mentality and look at different ways. So Kanchana, your final words.
Yeah, so I think what's really important in terms of interior is getting involved in the process. Like you might have a lot of ideas, but until it becomes a reality, the idea is as good as nothing. So, but then you will also realize when you are trying to do something, your idea, how difficult it is to get to the final outcome, the final result. During you have to go through that process, and you will face a lot of obstacles, a lot of difficulties, and you learn a lot in terms of planning, in terms of management, in terms of implementation. So all of these, until you jump into the water, you will not learn. So until you are trying to theorize it and think about all of this in your head, nothing will happen. You need to come out of your comfort zone and take that leap. So
okay, thank you, Kanchana. Yeah, thank you. So actually what we have done is to scratch the surface of these subjects. You have to dig deep, and there are resources which we will be sharing, and you can also do your self research. Keep learning. And I'm going to share the contact details of the panelists after obtaining their permission, of course. Thank you very much for the three panelists, Danesh Jayatilaka, Prabhat Surya, and Kanchana Abhisingha. Thank you very much. And I also thank all the participants who are here. There were 50 plus participants at the middle of the session. So I thank all of you, because without the participants, this would have been a success. And our next program, again, this is going to be a weekly thing which we are going to carry forward. It will be again, now we have done 3 sessions of Keep Learning. Actually, without your knowing, what we have done is basically a career guidance for you. First session, we talked about art, we talked about photography, we talked about animation and video editing. Second session, we talked about baking, we talked about grooming. And today we spoke about graphic design, fashion design, interior design. So basically what we have done is for you kids as well as the parents to give some options about what are the different fields available, what are the different skills that they can learn. Not only knowledge from the book, there are a lot of things that they can learn. That is what we were trying to achieve. And after this session, I'm going to add you, all the participants who are first-time participants, to a WhatsApp group we have called LOT Online Participants. So I will add all of you to that group, so where we will be sharing knowledge and answers to the questions and all these things. And also by tomorrow morning, we are going to share the full recording of the session today. If anyone has missed a part of it, you can watch it. And also maybe another week or so, we'll be sharing a transcript in the form of an article of all the 3 Keep Learning sessions. The last 2 and this one, we will share the transcript of it as an article, so you can have it as a record for you. And the other thing is, I'm going to send you a feedback form. Please fill it up at your earliest. It won't take more than 3 minutes, and send it to us, because that's the way we are going to learn and improve the program. So that's about it. And the panelists, please remain in the meeting for a few minutes after we close. And others, participants, you are free to leave. So thank you, and keep learning. Panelists, please remain. for a small discussion after the session.
I'll start removing people. And done.
Right. Okay. So, Asil, can you also switch on the video so we can take that our screenshot? Your background is red.
Yeah, wait, let me get rid of this.
Right. So now all the panelists say, Kavish, can you take the screenshot so for that flyer? Can have a nice smile. Yeah.
One.
Okay. Right. Right. So that is done. And thank you very much for the panelists. Thank you, Danesh. Thank you, Prabhat. And
Thank you.
big thank you for Kanchana.
Thank you very
With 2 days of notice, you came in and you did a superb job, wonderful job. All three of you. Because now the for me the happiness is like I have something in mind. So after the session, if that picture came into a reality, then that is my happiness. And I think 99% it happened. So I mean I'm really happy with the panel today. So and
Happy to hear that, Doctor. So,
because I think I mean to do a session like this is not easy, because all of you are working with adults and at a higher level to lower the pitch and like give the basics is not easy, right?
No,
So I mean you did a wonderful job, and there were few other questions also, and what we did was even the questions you answered, we just put a small write-up, not more than like 50 words, maybe 3-4 lines for each question. Even though you answered them here, we will put a written answer in the group. So what I'll do is I will share the questions with you, like separated individually under your name. Then you send it to me. Then I will just format it and put it in the WhatsApp group of the participants group, right? So that is how it's going to happen. And so Danesh, we will definitely work towards that the skills training that we have worked with. So now Prabhat, AODA was the starting age. They have to do all levels at least, no?
like if after O level, the 1 year foundation program.
Foundation, right.
Yes.
Again,
A-level,
yeah, at AOD they have only the degrees. They don't have the small like short duration programs. So?
No.
You have only the degrees.
Now they offer in masters as well.
Oh, okay, right. So then we can like there might be kids who are after A-levels, after O-levels. We can, I mean, what I do is once I share the contact details, they might contact you directly, and then they can get into that. So that is from my side, and then before we wrap up,
Doctor, we should thank the two young gentlemen also, Kavishka and Asil, right? How to pronounce it? Asil, right. They did a fantastic job, I think. Thank you very much.
And those two have been like they are both like Kavishka is my son and Asil is from my Toastmaster club. And how we started this whole thing is we were running Speechcraft programs, and Asil did a project to digitalize the entire Speechcraft, like to introduce Google Classrooms and all these things. Then after the lockdown, we straight away went into Zoom mode, and even we have conducted Speechcrafts and all these youth leaderships online. So on the 21st, we are having their conference, the big conference also online. So these two are the ones who are behind that, doing all the tech
Super,
work
yes.
and everything, this thing. So,
And
thank you.
Kanchana, nice to see you after a long time.
You too.
And yeah, you guys are fantastic. Even Prabhat, I think we have bumped into each other, if I'm not wrong. We must have, you know,
Somewhere like you.
Yes.
For me.
Yes, yes. Okay, doctor. And doctor,
now,
thank you very much for the opportunity. And
yes.
honestly, I also started doing the slides this morning.
No, I mean, that's perfectly okay, because all of us are, because now the good thing was yesterday and today were curfew, so at least we are free from some of the work. So maybe we had something to offer. And by the way, Prabhat, do you have any art exhibitions planned up?
No, I planned actually, because of this situation. I had to postpone it a bit.
Because,
You are a painter, Prabhat?
Yes, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Me too. I'm also a painter.
Okay, we can share.
Yes.
So I think you have got a connection there also to painters.
So
you can find me on Instagram, Kanchana, because now I used to post some, like updated artworks there, like my name is Prabhat Samarasuri, like, as it.
Okay. I'll find you.
okay, guys, then keep in touch.
Okay.
And I hope we will see Dr. Prabhat also again where we met, and we are looking forward to see you
Hopefully.
very soon. Yeah.
Yes. Hopefully,
Right.
hopefully.
Okay.
Because my the directorship at Toastmasters is coming to an end at 30th of June. So maybe after that.
So actually, not only me, a lot of members are looking forward to see you. The one you did a fantastic job. After you left, only we understood the value.
No, I mean, to put up a new chapter and bring the people together, so it's not easy. I mean, you have to be at it, no?
Not easy. Hats off, like, we even talked about tourism. Sorry, what did she say?
No, actually, Kanchana was also has some experience in that.
We went through the same process.
Yes. Not easy. I know. Now I am part of that. I know what's going on.
Right. Okay. So then,
have a nice
thank you all. Yes. Thank you, Danesh. Thank you, Prabhat. Thank you, Kanchana. Thank you, Sel. Kavishka. Let's go for dinner. Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night. Bye, everyone.
Nice to see you all.